Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, you know who that character is right there. But, here's a question apparently that I've asked before, and, I guess it bears repeating and asking, because even now, recently, over at DeviantArt, or DeviantArt, whatever you want to call it, some person has asked this question again. And the question, which bears repeating, I guess you could say, is this story arc that we're currently in, Death Egg, the Mecha Sally, Death Egg, Time Reset story arc, which has spanned the main comic, going on, has continued on somewhat in the universe comic. Is it just a way of getting this character say she's restored, and I mean say she's restored, if you will, because we got to play that game with Ian, whether we like it or not. Because like I said, we got to play that game with Ian because he doesn't want to give too many hints away or too many clues away. But anyway, the thing is, if she's restored, the question this one person brought up is the same question I brought up months ago. And the question is this story going to result in her being fully closed? Let me explain for some of you that may have not read that video, or watched that video, and may have not read that topic that I talked about it. You see, basically, for years, and years before this whole story arc even began, the so-called Sally haters, if you will, or the non-Sally haters, or in-betweeners, whatever you want to call them, have basically said certain derogatory remarks about the character. Said how the character is a slut, the character is this, the character is that. And all due to the fact that all she wears, as you could see, is a vest and vest and boots. So, for anybody that's a fan of the character and a fan of the overall franchise and doesn't really care either way how a character is drawn or portrayed, it kind of gets a little on people's nerves. So when her robotization happened and then her weaponization occurred, a lot of people started questioning, will she end up being fully clothed if, and we got to play the if game with Ian, she's restored. Now some people have argued that that wouldn't make sense, seeing as though clothes aren't physically part of the body. Well, let me counteract that statement. When a character is roboticized, let's say they're wearing clothes. If a character is roboticized, as you've seen in the comics, the clothes become part of the body. It's no lie. The clothes end up being roboticized along with them. Now in the cartoon, you don't see no clothing or anything. You just see, well, you do see the clothing, but it's all the same color as the roboticized character. But basically it becomes part of them. It becomes part of the body. Now, again, some would say it doesn't make sense because clothes aren't physically part of the body. It wouldn't matter. And some have even said, yeah, well, even if she is restored, she'll probably go back to the vest and the boots, back to her old self again. Which is a possibility. But some have even said that, well, the way she was weaponized and modified, if you will, and the way, as they put it out, her current mecha design has Sega style, even in hairdo, then maybe it's Sega, then maybe Archie Comics and maybe Ian Flynn are trying to appeal to Sega by saying, look, look, fans want Sally in the games, and I think Sega pretty much knows this, right? So I'm guessing, in my opinion, I'm sure anybody else would share this opinion, that maybe by doing this, and let's say if she's restored, she'll have more of that Sega look, and I guess to people's minds, Sega will be like, now that's the Sally we want. That's the character we want. Sure, we'll put her in the games now. But is that the case? We don't know. When you go over DeviantArt, and maybe even at some of the fan art sections of some of the Sonic sites, and you basically have people drawing this character with what they feel is going to be her new look, her new clothing look. So it's basically her body. She's going to have a blue outfit, kind of body outfit, if you will. She's going to have a Sega-style hairdo. One person over there named Trunks at DeviantArt, who's trying, I guess, his best to get in with Sega as an artist, and he does fantastic art, believe it or not. Even do an action picture with Team Fighters with Sally as a new addition, and she sort of has an outfit that's similar to her mecha outfit, not all fully bodied and all that, well, kind of similar. And the blades she has are basically like Windows things now, but they're kind of like blades that, are just now part of the suit. So, and I'll provide a link to that down below if you want to see it. But the question is, and it surprised me, obviously, when this question was brought up again, because I brought it up, and now a lot of other people are bringing it up, is this just an excuse to get her fully clothed? Honestly, I can't really say. I mean, when I look back at similar situations in other comic books and media, when a female protagonist temporarily becomes an antagonist, in other words, a villain, even if it's against their own will, it's against their own will, when that character is restored, most of the time, or let's say maybe 25 to 50% of the time, they end up having a new outfit that's similar to what their outfit was when they were an antagonist. They were a villain. Now you might say to yourself, that really doesn't make any sense with a character like Sally. But then again, when you take a look at what Eggman supposedly did to her, it would make a lot of sense. It would. A lot of people even point out the Deus Ex Machina, if you will, with Bunny. Back in the Super Special, I can't think of the number it is, what was called Super Special, Sonic Super Special, entitled Girls Rule. Bunny, in the story Upgrade, had her roboticized limbs replaced with what was supposedly permanent cybernetic limbs that were almost organic in style, more feminine, more kind of human style, if you will, with no possible way she'd be restored. But lo and behold, come 232 or 230 something, Nagas, even though it's written that in the story that he didn't even know how he did it, through his magic, restores her to normal. Basically she's crystallized. It's kind of like King Max was in earlier issues. She gets restored, and instead of just being restored where she still has her robotic limbs and everything, she's restored back to flesh and blood. And now she's in a situation, her character Bunny's, to where she's, according to even one artistic picture, and I'll provide a link to that, is probably in the minds of many, is probably going to go off to get herself legionized to get those robotic parts back. But we don't know that right now. We don't know that right now. But the point I'm trying to make is, when that story was written, it was written with the intention of letting everybody know that Bunny was never supposed to be restored. But now, you take a look at what Ian Flynn has done, and whether people like it or not, and believe me, a lot of people are not happy about how he just magically had her restored. She's now flesh and blood, no matter what. So again, the question is, if that could happen when it wasn't supposed to, what happens if she gets de-roboticized? She ends up getting a new outfit. Yeah, she'll probably have her old body back under the new outfit and everything. But she'll have a new outfit. Now, I know some people have said, well, why would she want to wear an outfit that reminds her of her robotization? Well, sometimes it's called motivation. It's called motivation for revenge, for payback. I mean, think about it. You put yourself in Sally's situation. She gets de-roboticized. She has an outfit similar to her robotic body. And instead of going back to the vest and the boots, she says, you know what? I'm going to wear this to remind myself of what Eggman did to me and what he's caused me to do. And I'm going to use that as motivation to pay him back and get rid of him once and for all. I mean, wouldn't it kind of motivate you if you were in her place? Maybe, maybe not. But the point I'm trying to make is, she could do that. I'm not saying that would be the case, but I'm saying she could end up doing that. But again, the question that a lot of people have is this the case? Is that the reason? Is that the reason this is happening? This has happened to her. I mean, a lot of people said, Eggman could have left her the way she was, maybe put a few weapons on her and all that, and so what? But there's got to be more to it. Now, I'm not saying that's why the story arc came to be. There's more to it than that. But the question is, will she end up being like that? Will she end up being just like that? See, that is a question a lot of people have. Now, another question some people have, and I mentioned this briefly in a video, yesterday. A lot of people are not sure when and where Sally will be restored, if she's restored. You know what I mean? Gotta play that game, remember, folks? But here's one thing. One person drew some. I can't think of the name right now. Again, I'll provide the link to the picture that I provided in another video. But basically, somebody was asking, well, what happens if Ian Flynn decides to have Sally kind of overthrow Robotnik and take over and try to become a villain that's temporarily kind of like, not in control of her own senses kind of deal? Well, that could happen. Well, a lot of people are afraid that's going to happen, but some feel it won't. Now, but another thing a lot of people pretty much feel could happen is something similar to the final boss ending in Sonic Heroes. And if you know, and you probably know what I'm talking about. Basically what happens is Metal Sonic becomes Metal Madness, some kind of a creature. Now, this person, as you'll see the picture when you click on it, basically said, well, what if Robotnik gets so desperate, Eggman gets so desperate that he's like, you know what? I'm going to modify her once again, and I'm going to make her better. And the picture they provide is, what if he goes as far as saying, you know what? Instead of you being Mecha Sally, I'm going to make you Enchanted Mecha Sally Queen. And basically make her a female version of the Metal Madness that Metal Sonic became in Sonic Heroes. You see, that too is a question of a what if. What if that happens? I mean, I know it's kind of like, it doesn't go with what I'm talking about when it comes to the clothing, but I'm going to mention it in a topic on some of the boards, but I thought I'd just bring that out as what would your reaction be if Ian Flynn wanted to go in that direction? Not saying he would. So that's the question. What do you think that part of this story arc, which probably isn't part of it, but do you think the aftermath of this is going to result in her being fully clothed finally? And do you think Ian would go as far as to do what this picture, this artist at DA has suggested? Now, remind you, this artist has said that Ian can't steal this idea because that goes against everything Archie Comics stands for, BumbleKing.com stands for, and Ian stands for. But still, if he did something similar, what would your reaction be? So those are two questions. So comment down below, video response if you like. I'll talk to you all later.